together, and we offer an energetic experience that helps harmonize and balance the divine masculine and feminine in each person, to help your heart open, to help you into greater heart coherence, as was spoken of earlier, and to help you awaken in consciousness as your contribution for the ascension of this planet. And you'll notice Joy and I will go back and forth very intuitively, weaving frequencies that you can feel. What I want to start off with, we all know about Ascension. We've at least heard the word. We're all for it. Maybe you put it in Expedia, trying to figure out how to get there, right? Everyone wants to ascend. Some of us are under the false impression that it's the state of the world that is either going to make it happen or not happen. So we get frustrated as to when is the world going to get its act together and work together for this thing called oneness or ascension. What I want to start off with is twofold. I want to remind you that ascension is guaranteed. What we are choosing is which timeline of ascension will unfold. And so it's either going to be the most direct path or a long-winded path. We have chosen, so far, the most direct path, which means it will feel the most tumultuous, chaotic, and confusing. Much like watching an action film on fast forward. But so the action sequences might seem more intense, but we're going to get through it faster. And that's what we're living out. And then the question becomes why? Why is Earth ascending? Earth is ascending because its life purpose, its destiny, is to open the consciousness of mankind so that Earth can fulfill its destiny as the heart chakra of the universe. And you would ask me, well, which planet's the crown chakra? Which is the sacral? I can only tell you about the mission we're here to be a part of, which is activating the heart chakra of the universe known as Earth. If I had to guess, the sacral chakra would be Las Vegas. But the reason we are ascending is because it's time for Earth to evolve into its highest potential. So it's no surprise that every being on this planet is being called to evolve to its highest potential. And in order for us to evolve to our highest potential, we are watching and participating in the dissolving of lower potentials: deception, greed, confusion, manipulation. All the things that make life right now not make a lot of sense. Because there are a very small group of people that are doing anything they can to try to keep this thing going. But destiny is destiny. And so you are simultaneously witnessing the evolution of light on this planet and the simultaneous deconstruction of distortion. And because a lot of us have spent more time consciously in families and patterns of distortion, you're going to notice the fallout a lot more often than the light that's emerging. And so Joy and I come to you to channel these frequencies of light so you can get to know what the light feels like, although a lot of us probably have a good idea. But to help deconstruct whatever belief systems you may have that block you from noticing this light most often. So that as you notice this light more often in this type of a sacred setting, you'll be able to see, oh, the light is expanding on this planet and not waiting for an inspirational headline to make room for a light that is already here, already shining brightly, and melting the living crap out of all levels of distortion. So as we begin, I want to welcome you to the ascension already underway. Just feel for a moment. Because one of the greatest things we can help unravel in you is this subtle assumption that dark is at the same frequency of light, which is why people believe if dark is present, my light can't show up. I can't feel my light. Oh. And yet, when we are awake beings, we are as respectful to the role of the dark as we are to the resolutions of the light. For even when the dark is fighting the light, it is only fighting the remembrance of what it forgot it was. The light is not fighting the dark. The light is holding space for the exhaustion of the dark, the collapsing of the dark.
I like the way that feels as we start to ground into this space. I don't know if you noticed, but as we came into the room, as we came to the stage to close this event, at least for today, out, what we felt was this incredible expansion of energy. And as Matt was talking about, there's a clearing away of energy, and there's an entering of energy. There's an evolution of consciousness, an ascension of consciousness, while there's also a falling away. And part of the falling away that happens is making space for more of that expanded energy to be here in your bodies. But what we were feeling was the heightened awareness of all of the energy, all of the spiritual energy that came in, your friends and families that wanted to come in and share messages in the previous session, the energies that have been coming in for so many channels. And you've just begun. This is barely day 2. And so much energy has been in this space. And you've been expanding to meet it. But as you expand to meet it, you are meeting it up here in the crown. So a lot of you are feeling a lot of this energy here. Really expanded, feeling like you get lightheaded, a little tired, and get a little full. As that energy fills this space, and you become more familiar with it. So the familiarity is part of the gift that's coming in at this time, frequency-wise. You start off with the familiarity, and you feel sort of this desire to move up and out of body, and it feels like the ascension. So the desire to leave the conditions of your body or leave the conditions of your life become the invitation. How do I clear out the trouble, the drama, the family members who are creating all the havoc? How do we let that wash away? When really what's unfolding is an ascension of your body. So the energy that you're feeling out here is wanting to find its way into the body. It's wanting to ground. It's wanting to come down into the toes. It's wanting to be here with you to help activate your own heart chakra, which is why humanity is here on this planet. Because as you learn to embody and activate your heart chakra, it creates a magnetic resonance for the entire body that helps to expand your nervous system, expand the body, for you to be able to bring in all of this light. So breathe it in. Imagine as you breathe it in, it's coming in through your crown, and instead of being out here, it's coming into the body. That the information and energy that you're wanting to tap into wants to drop into you.
And so we sit here as the space receiving the ascension. The cup filled with light. And the more time we spend getting to know the light within you, the more we start to understand light beyond the interpretation of distortion. Because if spirituality was born on a planet waking up out of distortion, it would be no surprise that some of the things we've learned have been a little distorted. Or at least we've interpreted it that way. Like, I'm feeling the light, but if I sense someone else has a shred of darkness, my light goes away. That's not true. It's just that we tend to be more attracted to people's darkness because we've spent more time with it while in this body. And we've spent so much time with dealing with the PTSD of actually scanning environments looking for darkness so we know who to people please, who to make friends with to keep them from hurting us. So when we heal our victim consciousness on an energetic level, what we no longer do is obsess with and fixate on and look for darkness. And there's nothing wrong with a conspiracy theory. If I could say that in Sedona, Arizona. I think that's the love language of this town, right? But a conspiracy theory will just give you more fascinating ways to fixate on darkness. And what we want the distortion to be is like a movie that's playing in a theater, and they keep running the same movie because the tickets sell out. But if people stop attending the theater, the political movie gets taken away. And so I'm not saying to turn away as in a form of bypassing or negligence or ignorance. I'm saying that as energetic beings, as light workers, as empaths, one of the most fascinating conversations we can have is being aware of how completely obsessed with the dark we are. And that's often because we try to lead into our light and separate from our dark. And our dark follows us and says, I'm actually a part of the light too. Because if it wasn't for the darkness on this planet, we'd have no such thing as ascension. And so in this moment, as our bodies are holding the space for this energy, let it not be a space where it's light, afraid of the dark. Nor is it turning away from the light, obsessing with the dark, looking for the dark. Is that someone's shadow? Are they going to hurt me? Be safe in your own light. Because we all have light. All of us are nothing but light. And yet our cellular bodies are also holding distortions of shadow at different levels, at different percentages. A being who has more light than dark is on a trajectory called enlightenment. It's not the biggest deal from a universe's perspective. But here on Earth, it's a real special word. It makes you like a zoo exhibit. There's an enlightened being. Touch him with a stick. Doesn't even move. Doesn't even get triggered. And we make it this big thing. When all we're actually doing is taking the time to build a most loving relationship with our light, and then the light we build a relationship with makes peace with any distortion of darkness. And as you do that, and as you have a non-judgmental, compassionate relationship with your shadow, so that your shadow doesn't feel dismissed by the light, and your shadow doesn't compete with your light. As we balance this polarity out within ourselves, you're actually sending new frequencies out into the world to remind the world that we are one, not two, or even many. We are one, and we are all unique versions of that one. So if I wanted to get to know 50 different parallel dimensional versions of myself, I would get to know you. And if you wanted to know what one version of you is doing in a parallel dimension, they're on stage speaking to you right now as a duo of what appears as two. We are one.
That's right.
And we get distracted from that oneness with programs that ask us, which one will you vote for? And the answer is the one you already chose. So as we steep in this energy, I want you to feel the gravity of the light that is present here. A light that has nothing but love for this distortion of shadow. A shadow that was created to be nothing but what it is. And the light says thank you for serving the highest will of light. The difference is when you are willing to make peace with it. And that's why we're here.
We're not here to make peace with your neighbor or your family. We're here to make space to make peace for the one in you. The only one that you hold to the highest standard. Judge in silence, compare to others, dismiss. The one in you that shows up as many, the voice of the ego, the voice of your higher self, the voice of the divine, the voices of your parents embodying you. We're here to make space for that one in all of its forms and to make peace by loving the one you're with. When you can love the one you're with, you activate a beacon of light in the body. Every time you look at one in the shadow, every time you judge, condemn, compare, and you pause and love the one you're with, you shine the light into the shadows of the self, of the one in this body, the one that is all of us. There is no greater act of love, compassion, and ascension and support in this world. And the one inside of you that judges you're not doing enough, you're not being seen, you're not being heard, is the one we love. This is the fast track to tapping in to the alchemy of the light. To tapping into the light that flows through you that helps to activate what's next for humanity. It isn't by changing the politics, it isn't by changing the community. It is this one courageous act that when no one else is looking but you, you love. When no one else sees into the thoughts, sees into the pain but you, you pause and love. It's a conversation you've heard many times. Matt and I were talking about cliche the other day. It becomes a cliche to say, love yourself. Because so many people hear the truth of a cliche. And because it's not acted upon, lived, embodied, it feels like it loses its meaning. It becomes words uttered that create more ways to judge the one. And as we say this, we feel the love pouring in through the top of our own head in this conversation, inviting the love that's in this room, that's been brought into this space from the divine, to come into your body to be received. That even as the mind empties out, and as you're listening to these words, the invitation only gets stronger to love the one you're with. And what will it take to come to that level of love within your own being? To turn something that's been a cliche, something that's been words that leave your lips more times than you've meant it. What does it take to shift that? This is all it takes. The willingness to sit in these moments and to feel it and to breathe it in and to take it in. And then you hear the words coming into your mind and you love those. You can feel for so many of you, the mind is moving, it's clearing, thoughts are moving, and more drop in. And you love those. Can you feel it? What it is to let the love be fully in your body, not just a thought in the mind. That every time you have a thought in the mind and you love it, it drops in. And then it moves further down into the body, into the toes. This is I would say it's unspoken, but maybe not in this space, the power of channeled voice. Of a space where you are dropping into channeled energy, where you begin to channel your own frequencies, when you begin to channel love. That by loving the one you're with, you become a channel for that frequency. Not only do you change what's happening in the mind, you change the entire structure of your body by becoming a channel for love and the light. And every time you think of it, and every time you love the one, more light enters the body, and you become a stronger channel. And now you don't have to watch your thought or love your thought. Love becomes the thought. You channel it and you live it. And your body ascends. This is what everyone is opening up to. This ability.
We're not loving. We're not loving the thoughts like a overlay of, oh, I love this. You don't have to love the experience you're having to love the one having the experience, like a parent embraces their child. We're not loving ourselves as a manipulative way to force better behavior. We're not loving ourselves to make that voice shut up. What we're actually doing is we're changing the resonance that darkness tries to use as a mechanism of control. And I want to explain this for a moment. Because most of the people that have hurt you, or that are fed by the insatiable hunger of hurt for those that are on the sociopathic spectrum, are doing so because they are afraid of the light. Because their sense of the light is that the light, whether they know it consciously or not, will lead to death of the shadow, or the taking away of everything that I manipulate to derive my power from. And the shadow thinks, if I can be the darkest, most sinister being, there's no way the divine would let me into heaven. Because the shadow thinks of divinity through a lens of distortion. And the majority of people that have harmed you, harmed us, are doing so to keep themselves in a state of avoidance. Because the closer they get to the light, the more they feel things from the inside out falling apart. And all they know is, I'm losing a grip of control that I define my life by. And here's the most fascinating thing about the light. The light creates dark beings because it's setting the stage for miracles that will inspire the witnesses who are here to see it occur. And the miracle is when you have the darkest heart, within a split second, enter the light and receive the immaculate grace of Heavenly Father and Divine Mother, and washes away all of the pain and ushers in a wellspring of forgiveness. You have instantly changed a darkened being, a sociopath, into the next greatest hero this world will ever know. And it's a redemption that takes less than a split second. And so you are living in a world that seems very dark and chaotic because it is setting the stage for a level of miracle that will show you the power of the light. And we are here as light workers anchoring the light because we're on to this precedent before the majority of the world witnesses what's about to happen. And when we love ourselves, we are changing the resonance on behalf of the shadow that's unraveling. And instead of the shadow fearing the light, we are helping the shadow slowly acclimate to being attracted to the light. And we are helping the shadow learn how to be attracted to the light by giving it tiny doses of immaculate grace, known as the love only you can offer to you. So when a negative thought arises, and the shadow says, they won't let me into heaven thinking this crazy thought. Think again, shadow, I love you. Yeah. And we don't say I love you as a way of validating and saying I love it when you think that way, please keep doing that. We're doing it as a way of saying I am going to fast track you into the light and turn you into something heroic for the benefit of this world. I love you. Because negative thoughts are deflections. Fearful thoughts are deflections. Heavy, unprocessed emotions is the residue of trauma and hurt and unrequited love. And so we, as the representatives of the divine parents that have birthed all of us as one, offer all these parts, that immaculate grace that reminds every being, no matter how hurt you are, no matter how devastated you've been, and no matter how many people you've chewed up and spit out, the light welcomes you with a love that will take all of the power you have used against people and turn you into a hero who will help others in a split second. That's what's guaranteed to occur, but through your free will, we have been brought here to invite you to participate in it so you can feel it deeper and we can usher this in a more accelerated manner, if you so desire. And if we do, we realize that our heart is the center of the universe. Through the space that we love, all beings are transformed through a dream of time. You might be the first heart that sees the transformation, and over a period of time, you'll see things around you start to change. The outside world is the last place that shows up. The first place is the mental body, then the emotional body, the physical body, then the external reality. And so we allow ourselves to participate in helping the shadow resonate with light instead of fear the light or fight the light. Even though fighting the light is only going to exhaust the shadow, we simply say to ourselves, I love you, which is light language for there is another way. We're not going to be the amateur life coaches that try to map out the way. We're just going to say, there is another way. I love you. 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 And the feeling you sense when I say I love you, that is a blessing erupting in all bodies in this room. The feeling of connection, electricity, sometimes arousal, expansion, is the sensation of your light expanding and your shadow changing its resonance with the light. From fearing it to being drawn to be near it. From aversion to attraction. Only love can do that.
As we were talking about in the beginning of this conversation, the world is changing rapidly because we're on the fast path. Which means the light is moving very quickly, and as it does, disrupts things. And the pattern inside of all of you that wants to understand what's changing is going to be one of the most important that you will learn to love. The one in you that is subtly judging conditions and measuring things in order to access a level of control is going to come undone. Your desire to understand everything, it's going to fall apart faster than you can understand. I cannot understand what's happening in the world, and I can't understand all that's happening inside of me. I may feel symptoms that don't make sense. I may be experiencing loss I don't understand. And I love you. The desire to understand can be the thing that interrupts the ability to just love. It's a distortion. The one that seeks all of the understanding, the knowledge, the history, why we're here, what's happening, is a distraction to a moment of love. All that you need to know will arrive. You will know it, you will understand it, as you continue to become a space for love. The efforting of the mind to make sense is a distortion brought to you by the shadow. Just like the light, just like the being sitting here in this chair that wants to be seen and heard and understood, the shadow too would like to spend lots of time sharing with you its reasons for being here, as a prolonged last-ditch effort. And we will invite you to love it, to see it, and not need to understand.
To not negotiate with it. It's great to have questions, but most questions are forms of negotiation. How do I make one thing into another? How do I make this thing go away and this thing come closer? And it's amazing when one question, even when you go, now I get it, give it 90 seconds. There's another question. What happened to the now I get it? I want to share something very incredible with all of you that I haven't really shared in this type of public transmission. That was one of the most unsuspecting graces of my spiritual journey that only love revealed to me. And it will take what we're saying and just give it some very clear context. Because we all know in the spiritual field about this thing called fear. Fear often runs in forms of superstitious belief patterns. I can't have this unless this happens, these kind of things. But on the spiritual path, there's the other side of fear that we don't often acknowledge. And the reason why a lot of spiritual people can't clear fear out of their field is because they're too busy identifying with the other side of fear. I did. And through the grace of love, I woke up from it. I woke up out of something called magical thinking. Magical thinking is the bright side of superstitious beliefs. If fear says, if this happens, this bad thing will happen. Magical thinking is the opposite side, says, but if I do this, this good thing's going to happen. And it's all a big negotiation. And the invitation is, can you just love what's arising within you? I don't understand. Well, I don't understand must be next in line to be loved. I'm going to use the universe to get my way. Maybe if I raise my vibration, my family will be different. Maybe if I sign this contract not on Mercury retrograde. We have all of our magical, superstitious things. And as long as you have something called magical thinking, you have to have something called a spiritual ego, which is a spiritually themed distortion or shadow. It's not making peace with your shadow. It's taking your shadow to the Burning Man Festival. And magical thinking will tell you, if I believe it hard enough, if I desire it hard enough, if I want it bad enough, it's going to happen. And then when it doesn't, you go, I guess I wasn't doing it hard enough. And yet, if you were on a first date and you met someone that you were mildly intrigued by and you said, well, what brings us together? And they looked at you and said, I guess I desired you hard enough. Easy there. This stuff only makes sense in our minds. And we start saying it out loud because life's trying to wake us up out of our spiritual egos. Because the spiritual ego is just using spiritual ideas to continue the fear-based negotiation. And love will end that. Love will burn it all up gracefully. Because the question remains, what makes any of us believe that everything that happens is not the highest possibility? If you didn't have to vision board your way out of your mom's womb, then your journey is set up on a very high level. A level so high, you were not an individual to claim you created it. That's how high it is. It's beyond that. So one of the most shocking answers to one of the age-old spiritual questions, why did I create this? Because you didn't. You're aware of it happening because it is ushering you from one version of yourself to another, with a multitude of levels of consciousness for you to see it either through the eyes of distortion or through the eyes of source. And to see actually how every moment is playing a role in your evolution to allow your body to hold more light, to uplift the experiences of others around you. And if your life was anything less than or different from what it was or is, the potential you are continually stepping into wouldn't exist. And so the irony is that it's the shadow that always wants things to be other than how they are. The light already got what it wanted, which is to be in a body, to have a journey, to incarnate, to participate in Source's miraculous grace. So your shadow is trying to figure out how to get this manifestation shit to work. And your light body is here celebrating what was already manifested.
We're all trying to make it about us.
And it's okay that we do. Because the more you make it about you, the Siren of Self, is reminding you where love needs to go. The Siren of Self goes off. What does the Siren of Self sound like? Me, me, me. We go, oh, time for me to participate in the Ascension by loving this one. And life will make it your life whatever it needs to be to make the siren of self go off. Me. But then we get together in our spiritual egos and our spiritual clubs and we say, hey, if we do it all right, I think we can kind of make it different. And all I want to suggest, all we're going to suggest, is that you don't need to make this world different. We just need to love the ones who are in it. Because this world's already becoming different at a radical pace. And the only accelerant that's going to cause this world to fall apart and be reconstructed, miraculously, is the love that you can offer yourself and to others. You hear love is the answer. But what happens when love is the only answer? Because that's what happened to me. I was told love is the answer, and I took everything else that I was given, and I threw it away. And that's how we meet you. Love is the only answer.
Can we take one question?
One question. Who has a question? Anyone?
One question.
Yes.
So when you say just to love everything,
Hold on for the mic.
When you're talking about love, I guess it's just kind of a simple, or like kind of a loaded question, I guess. So like, what is love? Like just
Great
acceptance?
question. That's a great question. Sir?
Yeah, I think that love is one of those, what is love is a very worthy question. And it's one that we'll likely continue to ask the entire time we're here. I would answer in this moment as I feel the frequency of that response coming through that love is a frequency. It is a frequency that moves through us, and like a wave of light itself, like a wave of light moving through your body, it moves other energies. So love is that wave. Love is a wave and a frequency that informs the body, informs the physical flesh, that it's safe and okay. It's a wave that informs the consciousness of the mind, that says, you matter, you're here for a reason, thank you for being here, I'm with you, I have you, I walk with you. It's a conscious code. It's a reminder of who we are. It's what accompanies the breath. What isn't love?
Love is the light that is transmitted through attention. So when we're not negotiating with a feeling, we're just observing a feeling. And then if a judgment comes, we just observe that. We're not trying to not judge. Because the truth of the matter is that any judgment you've experienced is a judgment in the collective sphere of the quantum field that came into your awareness, that some degree of unworthiness thought, I guess I just did that. When you hear someone blasting the radio, do you assume every song you hear is either a song you wrote or lyrics about you? It's just something you're noticing. So, judgments are in the sphere of the collective. And when we love where the judgment seems to arise, we're helping to clear the collective. And we're loving by observing. We're not negotiating, we're not fighting, we're watching. In the same way that if I watch children misbehave, when they become aware of who's aware of them, their behavior changes pretty quickly. So we watch. Undivided attention. We just look. With interest, with curiosity. Like any thought or feeling is an exhibit in a museum. And its emotional disposition is just the feeling the artist had when they were creating it. And we think, an art exhibit on sadness, on loneliness. And what happens when I look at it and I don't look away? What happens when anger can't make me look away? What happens when unworthiness can't make me turn away? It dissolves into light. Because we transmit light through our attention. Because your attention and my attention is the same attention called consciousness. And we transmit it by observing, which is why when we're talking, we give eye contact.
So are you saying any desire to change is a movement away from love? To make anything other than what it is?
I would say desire for change wears itself out. So if you have a desire for change, put as much effort into it as possible until it all just kind of falls. Because if I say desire for change is in the way of love, I'm now making distortion and light on the same frequency band. And I'm also saying that a desire for change has the way of getting in the way of love. A desire for change is how we use a veil of self-improvement to hide from love. Because what love wants is for you to bring all of you, including the parts you hide, and hand it to the light. So all love asks is for you to hand yourself over. And the only reason why there is an entire genre of so much improvement is to help you remember that it's a hiding spot. And love is waiting. Love is here. We are love. And things are so much better than it might appear. But things are exactly the way it needs to be for a love that transforms it all. And so as we bring our part of this gathering to a conclusion, may we remind this world of love's power. May we accelerate and run out the clock of negotiation by putting our hands on our hearts, if you so desire, and we say, I love you.
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 And just feel. And remember this. Heaven is an angel walking through the metaphor of hell and saying to a tortured soul, the light has come for you. The definition of hell is that soul saying, I still have a few things to work on. I'm not quite ready. So enough of that. And we say to ourselves, to the world, to the one and all, I love you.
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 It has been an honor for us to be here with you. I am Mack,
I enjoy time.
and we love you.
Join us us for our 10th anniversary celebration during our 2025 Sedona Ascension Retreat, celebrating a new humanity uniting and a new earth arising, featuring the world's most renowned spiritual teachers, best-selling authors, and award-winning performers. Our retreat includes a dozen indoor workshops and 8 outdoor journeys into Sedona's vortex sites, as well as a Native American performance by world champions, the Sinqua family. Enjoy on-stage presentations.
All crystallized seed at the center of that orb of light is your physical mind.
So today we'll be talking about religion versus spirituality, because I think there needs to be a clear line drawn between the two to get a better understanding.
This path that we're all on has been well mapped. The science is established, and what we are doing today is recovering.
Because there's going to be such higher states of consciousness on the planet, such an influx of energy, people will start getting activated. And you will have atheists that suddenly see angels.
I am your host, Suzanne Ross, and I invite you to join us for our 10th anniversary celebration. Just visit SedonaAscensionRetreats.com. Reserve your seats today. I'll see you in Sedona.
I love every single one of you with all of my heart. I mean it. I mean it. I love you and you and you and you and you and you and you. Thank you so, so, so much.